Welcome to The Array, the podcast dedicated to delivering AI clarity for the marketing community, presented by Jacquard. Our guest today is Dr. Neil Yager, Chief Data Scientist at Jacquard. A 20-year veteran of the technology industry, Neil is a leading expert in the commercialization of AI. Welcome, Neil. It's a real pleasure to have you on The Array.
Yeah, well, thanks guys for having me. It's fun to be here.
So Neil, there's a lot of discussion just generally about artificial general intelligence. How close do you think, how real do you think that? It feels like a very undefined concept. I think people have their various different ways of defining what artificial general intelligence is. And I have a feeling that in a couple of years or 5 years or whenever it happens, people will be claiming something is when it isn't, or vice versa. What's your view on all of that? Is that just a thing distracting us, or do you think that is real?
It's interesting because my own thinking on this has changed considerably in the last year. So I would say that in my entire previous work in this field, I would have said AGI is theoretically possible, because I fundamentally believe that our brains are biological computers. There's not breaking the laws of physics. It's possible to do it. But I always felt like at the same time, the brains are so incredibly complex. This is not a technology that we'll ever see in my lifetime, if ever. For the last year or so, I've started to change my thinking. After working in this field and seeing this rapid pace of development, that I'm starting to actually believe that it would be possible within the next 5 to 10 years to get some sort of artificial intelligence that people generally accept fits the definition of AGI. To get there, though, that is going to require a few more breakthroughs, and whether or not those happen, well, that's probably the big question. It's not going to come. I don't believe it's going to come through just further scaling of what we have, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. There's so much research, so many bright minds going into this area that it definitely seems possible that these next breakthroughs are going to come. The second question is about the implications of this to the business community. In some sense, that's just a continuation of what we're seeing. What we're seeing now with today's AI is already completely disrupting the world of all aspects of our lives. And this would just be a step further in that direction.
How do you define it?
How do I define it? I think it largely has to do with acquiring new skills, this is one of the limitations of large language models, is they're kind of trained and frozen at a certain moment in time, and it has developed certain skills through its training process, but it can't actively learn and develop new skills that weren't part of its training set. So we have to be able, like the G for, it needs to be able to generalize. It needs to be able to move into new things. So that's one area. And also, as I mentioned earlier, there's certain types of work, that LLMs are not good at. And very simple example is just arithmetic. Like it's balances of probabilities over tokens and words. It's not designed to do computations, but a lot of intelligence it's working things out. It's working through this sort of symbolic processing. So this is where I think the breakthrough would need to come through in order to get what I consider AGI. We have to both have the ability to learn and develop skills on the fly, and also address some of these problems that current systems can't solve. I've been very skeptical about this my whole life, but I'm starting to actually think it might be feasible.
Do you think it's like one, if we get that next breakthrough, do you think it's like one solution, one model that solves for that problem? Or is it actually we're sort of evolving and there's like an AI stack? And it's the joining together of processes and workflows and automation.
I
and
definitely
things like that.
think so. And I think because of the way the biology of our brain works, there's different sort of modules with different specialized purposes. And I think that's how AI is going to have to be as well.